Hello, everybody, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to come speak to you about the MSW program. Um, so one of the things that I'll be doing in just a second is putting up a PowerPoint with some information in it. At the end of this, since it's recorded, if you have any questions, I'll make sure that you have my contact information. So if you need more info, we can certainly do that. So let me go ahead and start our screen share. Um, So as you are likely seeing, this is regarding, again, the Concord University MSW program. My name is Robin Durham, and I've been a full-time professor. This is starting my third year with the program. Prior to that, I taught a little bit in as an adjunct for the VSW program. So let's talk a little bit about, I know some of you are basically, you're not necessarily social work majors. So some of the information will apply if you're not a social work major, and some of the information will apply if you are a social work major. Okay. So let's think about where do social workers, where are they employed? Well, one of the things we have to do better, but social work is a pretty versatile field. So, a lot of times the first thing people think about is child welfare, and certainly social workers work in child welfare. But there's so many other places where social workers can work. And I'm not going to read the list to you, but these are just some of the places that you may find a social worker. For me personally, I've been a therapist for over 30 years, and I've worked in community mental health. I've worked in private practice, psychiatric mental health clinics, school-based health. I've done employee assistance programs, so a little bit of variety, but all of it surrounding mental health. So certainly, again, there's lots of areas that you can look at. When we think about where social work employment outlook from 16 to 26, pretty good outlook. And, on one hand, that's great. On the other hand, it's like, oh, this is bad because it's saying there's going to be such a need. And we know in our area with the continued opioid epidemic, certainly there are social workers providing services from everywhere from child welfare through probation, parole, corrections, and up through mental health, foster care. I mean, just all across it, lots of it. So you can see the areas that they're really thinking are projected to grow. Just to brag a little bit, our program gets these little badges when these outside programs evaluate, based on whatever criteria they have. So yeah, we're a little proud. We'll take that. Okay. So when we think about the MSW program, we want to prepare people, graduates, for advanced general social work practice with a rural focus. Now, what does that mean? What that means is, generally when you're going to work in a rural area, you kind of have to be a jack of all trades. Now, that does not mean that you cannot specialize, but what our program does is give you those general skills that you can take to pretty much any setting and kind of go from there. But also with the rural practice, because some people are going to choose to stay here, and it's just a reality that rural practice looks very different than practice in bigger areas. We are accredited by the Council on Social Work Education. We accredited in 2015 and were reaffirmed this past year. So that's a good thing because that leads to licensure. You do not want to go to a social work program that is not accredited. You really are wasting your time if you do that. We basically offer 2 tracks. And we have 2 starts. We used to have a rolling start, but now it's like fall start, spring start. So the standard generalist is a 2-year full-time. And this one is designed for people that have not graduated with a social work degree from a CSW accredited school. Or maybe they've been out of school for more than 7 years and really kind of need refreshed on some of the content. So in that first year, you get some of the content that you would have gotten as a BSW student to help you kind of catch up a little bit. The advanced generalist, 1 year full-time. And again, you have to come from a BSW accredited program, or CSW, I'm sorry, accredited program with no more than 7 years before you enroll. Grade point average as well. So we look at that case by case. Both tracks do offer full and part-time. So some people are like, yeah, I don't know if I want to go full-time. Well, you do have the part-time option as well. And for some people, when you talk about work and family and other responsibilities, that can be the way to go. So when we think about what are the pros of an online program? Well, for students with a BSW, they can do a 4+1 where they go straight from their undergraduate straight into the master's program. This is a 100% online program. So, we'll think about some things, talk about some things to consider in just a minute. The cost is roughly about $481 per semester hour, and there are some online fees with that. But on the good side, the cost is the same whether you leave in-state or out-of-state. And we certainly do have students from different places in the U.S., so they're paying the same rate, and that's kind of a nice thing. The rural focus, again, is meant to prepare folks to work in rural, more underserved areas, and there can be several places where you may be one of the only games in town providing services. In size, roughly, class size is about 1 to 15. So you have a chance to get to know your professor and vice versa. Now there could be situations where because of staffing issues it's a little bit more, or because of the way a class falls, but generally it's 15 students. So what do you need to think about? Some students may want the in-seat experience, and that if that is what you need, then by all means that is exactly what you should do, because online is different. Some people really want to get involved and connect with people on campus and have the face-to-face interactions like you do with an in-seat class. Online is not easier than in-seat. I think some people tend to, I'm not sure where that comes from, but it's not easier. CSWE accredits, and so all programs have to offer the same content and have very strict standards on how they do that. What do you need to succeed? Well, it does require a lot of dedication, a lot of organization skills, motivation, the ability to motivate yourself, willingness to reach out and ask questions and engage your professors in what you need to know, and the ability to really, if you haven't, some of you obviously are, but to learn and really utilize the technology, because we certainly use Blackboard and Zoom for meetings, things like that. So this next one is really, this is kind of where, again, you start with the generalist program. So these are some of the classes you would take. As you notice, there is field practicum. There's two parts in the generalist year, and then 3 in the advanced. The hours have changed a little bit because of COVID, but they're likely to go right back to where they are right here. But you kind of see these would be classes that, again, people with a BSW would have already taken, and they would have done a field placement. So that's why they get to go straight to the advanced generalist year. Okay. Under the special topics, there's different courses in there. So there's a trauma class, there's psychopathology, there's grant writing, there's just different courses that you could choose from depending on what your interests are. So this is kind of what it looks like, with a fall start, and certainly these slides can be made available so you can look at these later. So full-time, here's what it would look like, and then if you decided to go part-time, as you can see, there's a difference in the classes that you take. Okay. And then same thing, full-time spring, part-time spring. And then the advanced generalist, this is when you come in, after that first year or as a BSW. Full-time, part-time, starting in the fall. And same thing, full-time, part-time, starting in the spring. Okay. Now, we do have some folks who have elected to take 1 course a semester. They decided that's the pace they want to go, and that's perfectly okay too. Just realize it does take longer to make that happen. The other thing, there might be questions of, well, what happens if I have a problem and can't do a semester? Well, the program works really hard with folks to try to get them right back on track as quickly as that can happen, but understand that some courses kind of fall where they do. Okay. So applying, again, here's the deadlines for depending on when you want to do that. So again, you either have to have a BSW from an accredited school, or again, a bachelor's degree from a whatever program, whether it's sociology, psychology, political science, that sort of thing. Submit an official transcript, because we're looking at grade point averages, both cumulative and the last 60 hours that you're in school. We generally are looking for, again, a 3.0 for social work classes. That's one thing. When you fill it out, you're obviously going to tell which one you're applying for and if you're applying full-time or part-time. 3 letters of reference. Now, here's the important thing, because all of us, the faculty, review these. If you're coming out of college, get at least 2 from academic people. So they can talk about how well you do and how you seem to manage your time, things like that. If you don't, yeah, I mean, that's fine, but you need really 2. The third one can be another academic person, or it can be somebody that knows maybe you work for them or knows you in a different place. There's a personal statement, and again, I'll tell you that too. The biggest thing, we lay out questions we want you to address. We tell you how long to write it and how to write it. So again, make sure to take the time to address the questions that we're looking for. Those are put there for a reason. Although it's not required, you can submit a resume has volunteer experience. So you might say, well, gosh, I'm not a social worker, but maybe you volunteered, with, some sort of group, or you've been part of a group on campus. Okay. The nice thing here, is that you're not going to be disqualified if you don't, because a lot of people are like, well, I don't have social work experience. Well, you don't have to have it. There is an application fee, of course, and the good thing is you do not have to take the GRE. Okay. So in applying, if you have any questions, Vanessa Howell we work her to death. I know it. She's our go-to person. She can answer it. Dr. Scott Ingram can. I certainly can answer it as well. So I'm in administrative building. I'm in A122. Or rmdurham@concord.edu. Okay. The next part, I thought I'd just faculty and staff. So MSW faculty, and we certainly have adjuncts, but we are getting these are some of the folks who teach regularly. Ms. Vanessa Howard is the associate. Ms. Marie Newcomb, some of you may know her. She is the full-time counselor here, but she also teaches on our program. And also we have a new person, soon to be Dr. Paula Uday coming as well. Some of the VSW faculty also will teach in the MSW program, so you may see some of them as well. And then we have some adjunct faculty that, of course, through the psychology program, which those of you that have taken psychology classes will know very well. And then we have some external folks who teach for us as well. And this can change, obviously, as teaching needs, and specialty classes are something we go after. So anyway, if you have any questions, again, please feel free to reach out to the department, to myself. I would be glad to talk to you more about the program so that you kind of know what you're stepping into. Of course, I'm going to tell you I'm very biased. I've been a social worker for a very long time. So, of course, I think social work's a great degree and you can do a lot with it. But anyway, it's for each person to kind of make up their mind and decide what they want to do with their lives. So anyway, thank you so much for your time, and I hope to be talking to you soon. Thanks.